Talofa, John. The Pacific Cooperation Foundation works in partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, offering undergraduate Pacific and Timor Leste scholars the opportunity to be part of the New Zealand Scholarships Internship program. Can you tell me about this program and the key objectives?
Well, this has been a great success for us. Historically, we've run this program for many years, and what it means is it gives talented Pacific students in the regions opportunities to work in New Zealand workplaces. And the workplaces we put them in are in government departments. There's a lot of private sector involvement in that, so they're getting a real spread of skills and opportunities to see how New Zealand businesses and government departments operate. So they can take those skills back to the Pacific.
What's the benefit of having students from the Pacific come to New Zealand and spend some time here?
I think you would argue that a lot of our infrastructure, a lot of the knowledge that we have here is very important as goals for the Pacific interns to say, well, they did this in New Zealand. Now, not every case will be transportable, but it gives them a number of choices. And you know, there is a reason why New Zealand is considered to be one of the best places to live in, because it's got a whole lot of those services, a whole lot of infrastructure, and a whole lot of confidence in what the decision makers do that can provide a very good benchmark for our Pacific neighbours. And I think what they learn here will hold them in good stead, because I think not only coming to New Zealand, but actually if you look around the world, New Zealand is considered to be a model for all sorts of things. Governance, you know, how you look after your people, how to treat people with care. So I'd much rather have a New Zealand model as the exemplar than some other countries. And so that's what we can learn. The Pacific students can learn a lot from coming to New Zealand.
What sparked the idea for this initiative? Was it a particular incident or an issue?
This is part of our renewed focus on being the trusted voice in the Pacific. We want there to be greater cooperation and understanding, but for that to happen, you've got to have contact. And so, you know, it starts with the young people. You know, that's going to be the future of the Pacific. So they bring their ideas from New Zealand to the Pacific, and the Pacific bring their ideas to New Zealand. And then they pick up things that they need to pick up to advance both communities.
And what's the plan for beyond the scholarship? Is there any kind of follow-up between the students?
The first thing is to get the experience done, because we know that high quality experiences leads to greater understanding, and what comes out of that is new initiatives. I think the engagement is the first thing. High quality experience is the other thing, because you want all of these interns both ways to have positive experiences. I'm able to say up to this point, we've had great experiences from our interns. So I think the idea now is to grow on that, expand it, and let's see where it can take us.
Can you give me an example of one of the scholars who received an internship?
Yes, well, one of the students in our latest intake was from Fiji, and he was actually posted at NIWA, you know, the national weather group in New Zealand. You know, he actually started the research at NIWA, and then went and took the research back to Fiji, which was actually looking at water quality and water security in Fiji. And his piece of research was published in an international journal. And so, you know, for a new guy that's come out from the Pacific, spent one internship in New Zealand, and then to have a published journal entry of that significance is something to be celebrated.